Welcome to CrossYoga. My name's Ria and I'm going to guide you through a class today with focus on shoulder. So both shoulder strength and shoulder stretching. Bring a block if you have and a blanket or something you can glide on the floor with. So that can also be a towel or something like that. And of course, unroll your mat. Now, if you have a block, they're really great to sit on. So I'll do that today. That will help elevate the hip a little bit, so it's a bit easier to sit. And then the blanket will just be nice comfort for the buttocks. So find that posture that makes sense in your body that you can sit in for just a bit. I'm going to read a Bible verse, as this is Christian yoga for everybody. So if you're not into Christianity, maybe just listen along and see if there is any things that make sense in your life anyway. So maybe you take your palms up today. Calm your breath. And notice where you are mentally right now. What occupies your thoughts at these moments, or just a moment ago, or just throughout the day? What occupies your thoughts? And what about your feelings? And take this time on the yoga mat today to pause on thoughts and feelings, small or big, good or bad, and bring your awareness, your feelings, your everything into the presence of God. Maybe you sigh out. Remind yourself that you are forgiven through Jesus Christ. No shame is holding you back from God's love. As we focus our attention on our shoulders today, I'm reminded that the shoulder girdle, you might want to move them a little bit. You can stay with your eyes closed, but just, draw some circles, whatever makes sense. And I was reminded that the shoulders are made for movement, right? They're made to go in every direction. You might want to take them in every direction right now, forth and back, the most mobile joint we have. But that's also why they often get more tired than the big hip joint, for example. So we need to motivate them. We need to keep them strong. We need to keep them focused. And somehow that made sense to me with the verse that I'm going to read now. You can just move your shoulders as you listen into Romans 12:11. The Message version says, "Don't burn out. Keep yourself fueled and aflame. Be alert servants of the Master, cheerfully expectant. Don't quit in hard times. Pray all the harder. I'll read it again a little bit later. Now take your hands up over your head and you can let your palms face forward. And then bend your elbows, draw them out, and then elbows down and take them by your ribs. Arms are still bended as you draw your hands down here. And then palms together in front of your chest. Reach up, sit tall, palms forward, and draw the elbows down. Let's do that a few more times. Maybe use your breath. Inhale to take your arms up. Long exhale, maybe through your mouth as you draw your hands down. Inhale though through your nose, if possible. And you're welcome to close your eyes and bring your awareness to your left and right shoulder. Do you feel any difference from side to side? There might be a stiffness or soreness or heat, something. And bring that awareness with you as we move more on the mat. It's just great for you to know a little bit about what's going on. Before we find downward facing dog, take your head, move it to your right side. Make sure your chin and shoulder is not touching. Just notice how far you can go without overdoing anything. And then coming back to the other side. Again, left and right differences. You might want to go back just to see if you felt anything. It can also be in front of your throat, actually. Sometimes we focus so much on the back because we feel the pain there that we forget. The throat, the muscles here in front, they also have a function. And remember to relax your jaw. If your jaw is really relaxed or is like tightened and stiff, that might affect your neck as well. All right, let's make our way. You can just bring your equipment to the side. Now I said downward facing dog, but let's begin in tabletop. So knees under hip and do the good old fashioned cat-cow. So your cat here, shoulders up, and then your cow. And you're welcome to fold your mat for the knees. Now typically we bring focus on the spine as we do this, but today I want you to bring your awareness between the shoulder blades, so the top part of the spine. So as you push your hands into the mat and do your cat, see how much space you can get in between the shoulder blades. And then kind of take your shoulder blades back and together, draw them in. Maybe you take your elbows a little bit in, the feeling of that, subtle feeling. Then you might want to follow your breath, just trying to, again, maybe not go 100% to both edges, but still really feeling into your shoulders. Now you might know this, but the shoulder girdle exists of two joints that needs to move together, and this is why the shoulder is a bit more complex than some other parts of the body. We have the shoulder blades, the what we often think about because we see it, and then we have the shoulder blade here behind, and those two need to move together, otherwise we get in trouble. All right, downward facing dog. So take your knees off and get some movements into those feet and legs, hamstrings. Now downward facing dog can be a hard posture, also due to maybe fatigue, tiredness, injuries in your shoulders. Now it's helpful to bring your shoulders away from your ears. All right, and take those shoulder blades. You can stay in down dog. Take them a little bit down and back, not like firmly because we need them to be a little bit mobile, but just a little bit back to make that space. Engage your fingers, knuckles, and a little bit of an arch in your hand, in your palm there. You can have that as well. And let's move into plank. Pushing the floor firmly away, stacking hands, elbows, shoulders, and then push or shine the sternum a little bit forward. Staying here, core involved. And down dog. Walk your feet to the top end of the mat and fold forward. And you can shake your arms if you like. And then chair pose. Now, depending on your mood today or whatever you're up for, you can sit as low or as high as you want, but take your arms here in front. Palms facing in towards each other. And we're going to cross a little bit. So you're going to cross one arm on top of the other and then out. It doesn't have to go completely as far back as you can, because I want to focus on crossing. If you get totally fatigued in your leg, get into mountain pose, but I like to work my legs. Now, as we draw our shoulders here, I'm just going to move towards the screen. As we draw the hands in front of us, we can take the shoulder girdles quite a lot in front of us, and we don't want to do that a whole lot. Try to keep the shoulder girdle a little bit back as we cross the arms here in front of us. 4, 3, 2, last cross, and fold forward. Relaxing. Now you can bring your blanket, or if you have a rope or something a little bit longer, that is helpful as well. This is great for me. So you take your arms up over your head and draw your hands behind you, pulling on the strap or the blanket, whatever you have. Reach up and coming down again. Now you might not be coming that far down because of tension, but try. Now your ribs, they would often like to go forward, so you kind of go into a back bend situation. But try here to knit the ribs in a little bit so you're standing tall. Maybe a micro bend in your knees will help with that. And the more you hold onto your blanket, or if you have a strap, and trying to pull it apart, the more your arms will be involved. So find that sweet spot where you can take just a few more. Now my arms start to shake. 2 more. And release. Let go of the strap or blanket, fold forward. Step your right leg to the back of your mat, bending the front leg, reaching up, high lunge. Now, as you take your arms up, you might feel a little bit tired in your shoulders, but just work with me. Now your left leg is at the front, to take your left arm down by the side. Right arm over though, and see if you can go for a side stretch to your left side. Now this top arm, you can try to take a little bit forward. You don't want to stay too long there, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And you can take your arms a little bit back without arching the back. And maybe if you can keep your balance, gaze up and try to avoid looking directly into your arm if you can. Now that needs a little bit of flexibility in the back of the spine, so it's not maybe all of us that can do that. Release, let go, step it back, downward facing dog. I'm going to guide you through a version of Vinyasa that should be a little more soft on the shoulders, meaning the shoulder girdle is harder on the muscles. At least that's what I think. So find your plank. Now as we move into the low plank, come onto the tip of the toes, really far away, lower down so the upper part of the arms comes aligned with the floor, and then lift up to your up dog if your back is okay with that, and then directly into downward facing dog. So your belly will never reach the floor, okay? We don't want to hang or sack into the shoulder girdle. Let's try that one more time. Inhale to plank. Move on the tip of the toes, shoulders in front of your fingers, lower down halfway. Lift into upward facing dog, downward facing dog. After I tried to do that, it felt easier on my shoulders actually. Lift a leg, move it up, draw it underneath yourself, let it hover over the floor, push into the hands. Stay here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Down dog. Lift your right leg up and draw the right leg to the top end of the mat. High lunge yet again. So we're just gonna gaze forward and see if we can find the balance. Now your right leg is in front, is bended. Take the right hand down by the side. Left arm over your head for a stretch and your left side body as you move to your right. Before we took the top arm to the front, just to notice where we don't want to go too much. And then take the arm overhead and back, drawing the shoulder girdle further back, maybe looking up. Letting go. Hands down. Step your right leg up and back into three-legged dog and continue into our tabletop with the knee hovering. For 5, right knee this time. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Step it back, plank to low plank, and this time all the way down on your belly. Now we're going to use the blanket, something that you can glide with. If you happen to do exercise with gliding mats, thingies, you might be able to use those instead, but the blanket works actually pretty well. You want to be at the top end of the mat so you can draw the blanket in. So I'm going to move a little bit. And then I'll push my hands here to the front, stretch my arms, head down when you've seen what's going on. And then you'll lift up and draw this down. I'm going to my mat, I see, and coming down, stretching, taking this blanket to the front. And let's do that a few more times. Lifting up, elbows by the ribs, lifting the sternum, and slowly coming down. So I take my elbows out wide, so I need a certain amount of distance between my hands. Now, you can lift high with your shoulders, but I would like you to focus on drawing the elbows by the ribs, getting the latissimus dorsi back. That's also affecting your shoulder joint, getting that one working. Take 3 more. I might experience that this can get a little bit hard. But then we think about the motivation, we think about our motives, our why. Why are we doing this? Maybe it's to strengthen the shoulders. And we need that why also to keep moving, to keep living in our everyday life. And that's what the scripture I just read, I think, is talking about. Let go of that folded blanket and find child's pose. Get some distance in between the knees. Take your hands down by your side this time. So what advice is the scripture giving us? It says, don't quit in hard times. Pray all the harder. In another version it says, be patient in times of trouble and never stop praying. So maybe prayer. Finding your why through prayer. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Take your hands again to the top end of the mat. We're going to strengthen just a little bit more, and it will be more in the top of the shoulders. But let's find downward facing dog. Drawing the heels down. Again, a bit of a sway in the hip. Tall spine, maybe a bend in the knees. Knuckles down. One big breath. And then take your right leg up high, three-legged dog. And draw the right leg to the top end of the mat. Warrior 2, but this time you bring your block along. Now to get the chest involved, the chest muscles here are quite important for great shoulder strength and mobility and less pain. So we can get those trapezes involved whenever we're pushing, and this is also why we were crossing a little bit. But if you take a block and push on the block in your Warrior 2, so get yourself situated in Warrior 2, knee and ankle on top of each other, and then push on the long end of the block, if that works for you. So really push in as firmly as you can. I'm holding it not to my chest, but just a little bit from my chest, pulling. And as I pull in, just stay there. I can easily draw my my shoulder blades forward as I push like this. But again, I want to keep them back. I want a tall spine, and then I push with the shoulder girdle, kind of squeeze in to the facet, it's called, where it sits, right? So avoid this one. Okay, keep pushing. And if you're like, I can't do it anymore, just release a little bit. Shake it out. And then push for the last 5, 4, shoulders back. 3, 2, and 1. Let go. Then turn on your mat. Now, if you don't want to face the opposite side of the screen, just switch side. But I'm just going to turn. Warrior 2 again, but this time doing a little bit different. So we're going to bring the block behind our head and push in on the back. So this will involve a little bit more of the tricep muscle. So again, Warrior 2, shoulders aligned with the hip. Push in on the mat, keep the elbows somewhat by the temples, and push. I know in Warrior 2 you would look forward, but this time we just look to the side. Keep the elbows tight to the temples as much as possible. Keep in, and again, if you're completely fatigued, shake it out. Come back and push for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go. You can turn on the mat, so probably you're facing the screen again. Shake your shoulders out, step to the top end of the mat where it is the most easy for you to see. Fold forward. we are gonna play a little game. So again, take your blanket or strap and hold it maybe wider than you would think you should. And draw the shoulder blades back. Now we want the strap or the blanket here to be soft. Whenever we're stretching it, we're not doing it right, okay? So keep it soft. And then shoulder blades back, keep the elbows soft, lift the hands away from your buttocks and keep this strap soft. Keep it soft as you lean forward. Keep tucking the shoulders in. Don't tighten the strap. Let your hands reach forward. Use the strength of your arms, your shoulders here. Soft strap. Keep it there. Keep the distance of the hands between the hands and the lower back as you rise up. Still soft. Shoulders back. Keep breathing. Keep the distance. Lift. And maybe a little bit of a back bend. And let go. That's a powerful move. We're going to try it once again, but let's just do sun salutation, arms up and fold forward. Just chair pose, reach your arms up behind you, and again, arms up overhead, sun salutation, arms out to the side, fold forward. Chair pose, arms to the front, move them back, and as you rise up, arms up overhead, big circle, forward, chair, hands behind, and maybe you follow your breath. It's a little bit of mobility here without any tension. All right, fold forward. Grab your strap, blanket. Again, maybe hold wider than you would think. As we pull on the strappy thingy here, again, we have the tendency of pulling like this. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but as we pull back here, without this, okay? So as it's ripping the rib, knitting the ribs in. So kind of tucking the ribs a little bit in to get that stabilization also for the back. So soft strap, shoulders back, ribs knit in. Move your hands behind you. Already now you might start to shake a little bit. Keep that and move forward. Relax your neck, your jaw. Keep it in your shoulders. Arms drop behind you, but not lose the tension in your shoulders. Keep the distance between your hips, your hands. Reach up, shoulders back. Wow, mine tends to drop to the front very easily, coming into your back bend. Keep it tight or soft behind you. And relax. Awesome. Take your arms overhead. We're going to go into a stretching part now. Hands down, stiff back. Downward facing dog. And maybe just one of those awkward vinyasa flows that I was talking about. So coming into plank, move onto the top of the toes, lower down halfway, lifting, maybe you turn on your toes, maybe not, shoulders back, downward facing dog. So maybe a little bit wider or shorter, depending on your condition, downward facing dog. One breath here. And then come down on your knees. We're going to use the block, if you have two, that's amazing too, for puppy pose. Now, it feels like a stretch in the shoulder girdle, and it is. It's also stretched from the triceps and the latissimus that goes all the way down here and connects to the arm. So if you feel tightness here, that might be this, here's latissimus dorsi muscle on the back that is speaking to you. So either height of the block is whatever works for you. I like mine high. Hands on, and I'm standing on my knees, so I want to have some distance in between my knees and the block. And then soften down. Now I know that some of you might be really mobile in your shoulders, and a lot of mobility is great, but too much is if you have too much, it's important that you strengthen. We don't want to have super mobile joints as it tears and wears on the joint, the ligaments and all of that. Okay, really releasing. Finding tabletop. And we're going to do a little bit of fascia, my fascia release. I call it sometimes self-massage. We're going to be focused on the pars major. This is the big muscle in the chest because it tends to draw us forward, and that's also what might be tight sometimes. Teres minor is also pulling the shoulder girdle a bit to the front. So if we can kind of release tension there and strengthen on the back, we can help ourselves. So we want to use the block here at the front. So if you have a softer block than a cork block, use that, or you can just take your blanket. I'm not going to use it because then you can't see where I'm putting the block, but you can definitely just do that for you. You'll feel where the block is. So you'll be coming down on your side with a block somewhere here at the front, putting your armpit on the block with the block, space of the block in front of you. And then you're going to lean forward. Be mindful because it can be a little bit sore to the touch as you move forward. So the edge of the block towards me will come into this meaty part where the where the pecs goes up and into the arm. So that's where I want the block. Lean a little bit into it and just move your way around. Now, again, use the block if it's too, or the blanket if it's too much. Or just jack your hands. Make yourself as comfortable as possible. If you don't feel anything at all, congratulations. Or maybe you need to move yourself a little bit. Breast tissue, you can just move that as needed. Try to relax and soften into this edge of the block. Now you can stay here and do what we call shearing a little bit, which will mean that we push on the fascia and the muscles, but move our arm and the muscle in the meantime. So I'm staying somewhat here in the position, but the arm that I'm pushing into, I'm moving either on the floor or a little bit higher. So I'm just taking my arm forth and back. It feels amazing. Do that just a few more times. If it doesn't, stop it. All right. Now if your fingers start to feel numb or tickly, maybe you kind of catch onto your nerve and then you just move a little bit. You don't want numb fingers or kind of weird sensation. So come up. Make it just sit for a moment. Notice how that feels in your shoulder. And let's do exactly that on the other side. Now there can be huge difference on left to right side. I'm always more sore on my right side. So again, into the lower part of the armpit. So I'm not in the armpit. I'm on this side. You can hold on to this. This is the part of the pec major muscle. So find that spot that you feel something in, but not so you're like crying and screaming of pain. Then it's too much. Find another spot. And try to soften first. And if this feels amazing, stay here and see if you can soften even a little bit more. Or we did that shearing before where we used the muscles a little bit, move the arm, just bending my elbows 90 degrees and move that arm forth and back. Now doing this fascia release is often great to just right after, and it can release tension. It can give you more capacity to stretch and all of that. It often disappears after some minutes, but if it feels good, it's probably because you need it, and the more often you do it, of course, it will have a longer time effect on the tissues. So if it feels amazing, do this every day for a period of time, and maybe that is what can help you stabilize your shoulders more. Now close your eyes and just notice into this side, the other side of the shoulder. Before we come all the way down to a little bit of a neck massage, move your head again from side to side and notice if it feels different. Maybe there is more mobility. I know that we were working on the shoulders, but the shoulders, of course, are a part of the whole neck area and everything. Right? Now, if you feel great there, you can rest on the mat and find resting posture. If you want a bit more massage on the muscles here on the top of the neck, we can also do that with a block. Again, blanket on top of it will soften it if that's your game. We don't want to push the head firmly like into the neck into the block because you might feel dizzy. I've never felt dizzy, so it's just really nice release in the neck, especially for some people. It's super nice if you have a tendency of migraine or headaches. So for some it's not, so you just have to figure out what works for you. So just rest on the floor and maybe even rest with the block between your shoulder blades. So if you want to go for the neck stretch, I'm going to take my headset off, because otherwise I'll be in trouble. And then bring the second height of the block onto this part, the top part of your neck. We don't want to rest exactly just here. We want to move our head or our neck to, let's begin on the right side. Going maybe 2/3 of the whole way. So we don't want to look directly down to the floor. We want to go like 2/3 of the way. And that edge towards yourself, I'm pointing at right now, that will be the one that is going to massage your neck. So you can take the chin a little bit in and rest here. Or if you like the moving. Don't move just because you're restless or can't find peace. Move if it makes sense to your neck, okay? And try to relax. If you're good here, stay there or move a little bit closer towards the spine, not coming directly onto the spine. I have this kind of ropey tissue there that I can rest on and just move the block, turn a little bit if it makes sense. Soften your face and your jaw. And again, the option of doing a few circles, slow, mindful circles. It feels like you're doing them with your nose maybe, but of course its impact will be on the back. All right. If you want to remove the block and notice how it feels before we do the other side, you're welcome to do so. But if you're up for it, go for the other side. And again, we began with 2/3 of the way. Now, don't be too caught up in that 2/3. If you find a spot that's a little bit tender, stay with it. Because that's where we have maybe the need of some release. And then move a little bit closer to the spine. Again, if you were happy with the first spot, stay with that. All of this, you might wonder how long time to have an impact. Now you would typically say 1 minute per spot or per muscle group. So it doesn't really make it any better to stay at the same spot for 5 minutes compared to just 1 minute. So we don't want to stay longer than 10 because then we see, research at least suggests that then you see some not so good benefits from this. Okay. One more breath. And then you can move the block aside. If you are interested in more of this fascia release, I will definitely be putting out more videos on the topic also on my Instagram. But if you want to find resting posture, even butterfly, just to get a ascension, a little bit more of the hip as we rest here. So butterfly, close your eyes, relax your body and take your hands on the floor and maybe even over your head if that is That's great. I like that babies still are sometimes resting like this, right? Really open. So that's also great for your shoulder joint. So just lay down there for a bit. And again, listen in. And maybe let your heart listen to what you need to really work with or meditate on today. Never give up. Eagerly follow the Holy Spirit and serve the Lord. Let your hope make you glad. Be patient in time of trouble and never stop praying. Find your more traditional resting pose, making sure that your shoulders are relaxed. Now you're still resting on the floor. I'm just sitting to read. But as you come down on the back, make sure your shoulders are not elevated like this or uneven or whatever. So you might want to, on the floor, tuck your shoulders a little bit back towards the mat. Feel how that feels. And then take your shoulders a little bit down towards the feet, using the muscles. And from there, relax and let them kind of drop down relaxed in whatever posture then they kind of get into. So maybe that is helpful to get the right position. Eyes closed. And I read from a version, again, Romans 12:11, one last time. Also as a kind of a prayer. God, help us to never give up. May I eagerly follow the Holy Spirit and serve you and the neighbors around me. Let the hope I have in you, God, make me glad. And God, help me be patient in times of trouble. Never stop praying. Also when I don't feel like it. So God, we surrender our work, our bodies, our families, friends, into your hands. And may you be our big why and not other people's opinions or attention or approval. You are enough. Amen. And stay in quietness for just a moment more on the mat. God's peace stay and be in your heart wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining me today. God bless you. And thank you for liking, subscribing, and helping me reach out to more people by doing that. So thank you.